hello everyone, and welcome to the After Third State Time. My name is Christine, and everybody, if you would like to introduce yourselves as well.
Hello, I'm Andy.
And I'm Nikki.
Go ahead,
I'm
Mark.
Marley.
I'm Dennis.
Good. So today was a really beautiful sermon. I really enjoyed how Jason and Chrissy were sharing about all the lessons they were learning, and I feel it's very important to know that yes, there is an actual relationship in harmonious twin flame union. It's not just only the inner work part, even though it is an important part. You also have a relationship with your twin flame, and in many ways it looks like any normal relationship.
Yeah, it's definitely like, it's not like any, there's a little more to it because it's you. It's like, but definitely, it's just like any other relationship. Yeah, I think one thing that I really found that's been helpful to me in my relationship with Josh is like, how he like always is pushing on me and I'm pushing on him. It's like we're always helping each other strengthen, and that's what I really liked about what Jason and Chrissy shared in the sermon today. It's like that's really good and healthy, and your other relationships do too, but it's like pretty intense with your twin flame.
Andy, you had unmuted before?
I wanted to say that like the most beautiful part of a twin flame relationship, which as we all know is a relationship with yourself at the core, is that you already have the awareness. If you are, of course, in union and you know that you are twin flames and all of that, you have the awareness of what's happening in a situation, and if you just surrender like to God, to actually see yourself, because yourself is all you're seeing, but it's just a choice of like reflection. And yeah, if it's just, I wanted to say that it's really important like to really recognize that and be patient and loving with ourselves by actually choosing to see choosing to integrate that awareness in which we can also partner and have a healthy relationship with our twin flame.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add about what you said, that even if like you're in harmonious union, you have to have a relationship with your twin flame, because we have physical bodies, we're humans, so we have to relate, we have to talk with each other. And for example, like with me and Andy, we are kind of learning from the beginning, like from zero, how to have a relationship in general, so we can also have relationships with others as well in a healthy way. So we really like shaping each other here, because there's a lot of hurt and there's a lot of upsets coming up.
Yeah, and there is that specific part where I think Chrissy was, where she said that there are upsets and hurt from our childhood, in our consciousness, and it's safe to help each other like grow and be loved there.
Yeah.
And when you actually like go in that rhythm of twin flame dynamic relationship, you kind of like your present being and your you being present in your being, in your consciousness, is within your twin flame relationship feels like living at all times and healing eternally, and that's the most subtle but beautiful part.
Yeah, that's one thing Josh really like helps me out with a lot, is just like working through those childhood things, like especially with my power, like standing in my power, like as like a divine feminine, and not like being like submissive, or like what society has taught like a lot of women to do, like be like, you know, man's got the power, boys will be boys, all that stuff is like bleh. But like a lot of us have internalized that, and that's kind of happens, that just comes up a lot in the relationship. So yeah, and I was thinking like while I was watching the sermon, like, oh my God, like twin flames, they heal sexism. I'm like, that's pretty sick. I used to be like a hardcore like feminist protesting person, and it's like, oh, there's no way to heal sexism, but look at where we are now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a similar background in that. I used to be very hardcore about this, and like women are always oppressed and all that. But yeah, it's really beautiful how twin flames are healing that. And yeah, us divine feminines are taught that it's okay to be powerful, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually very normal because God is powerful, and God also has the feminine energy. So it's natural and normal. And yeah, definitely my twin has also helped me with that as well, because every time I'm standing up for myself, for really claiming my power, he's always there, really encouraging. And yeah, it's a really beautiful thing. Makes me feel very loved.
Yeah, I've experienced that a lot too in my union with Nicole, where we've just like noticed, or like, as you guys mentioned, like you said, childhood patterns coming up, especially with like the opposite gender. It's like for you guys, you know, with the divine masculine. And for me, I have the same thing, that like I have the opposite side where I've like, based on like my parents' relationship, I was basically like programmed that men have to be like submissive and abused and like less than women. So I'm like healing kind of like the same thing, just like from the masculine perspective. And yeah, that's also like all these like things that I didn't even know were like in my consciousness are like, you know, kind of coming up, being mirrored by a twin flame, or just like being brought up by a twin flame. And it's yeah, just it's kind of, you know, sometimes that's like how they push on you by just like pushing you to go to these really uncomfortable places where otherwise you wouldn't go. And with the twin flame, you just like have to go there because yeah, you want to grow the relationship and you want to keep going, and it's obviously very worth it. But yeah, it's quite intense sometimes, as Mali mentioned.
Yeah, Josh teaches me to not be a naggy asshole.
Same with Andy, actually, because I like, he's teaching me how to give him space to be himself, and he's also teaching me how he works, like how he gives, how he's able like to be like in the, as Jason and Chrissy were saying, like how Jason was in his creative energy, and like Chrissy was very attracted to him and wanted like to be with him, and she learned like to have this respect for the process of the masculine being there. And I've been healing like, and I've been learning like the same thing with Andy. And communication is also like key, as Chrissy said here, that things have to be talked.
Yeah, we have to share. It's really important to not like take our twin flame for granted, and like to share ourselves and like how we truly are, because that's when the next level comes. And in the most times, like when I personally, when I got to be very vulnerable with Nikki, sometimes it felt really hard, and sometimes it felt like really, I felt really hurt in some places because I wasn't accepting myself in those places, and she was perfectly loving me there because she was showing me that I wasn't. And I the ego at the first glance, at the first moment, like tries to tell you that, oh, you did the wrong thing, that you got to be vulnerable. But after you like take your time to get to the healing process and like fully integrate what happened, you see that that your twin flame actually loves you unconditionally, and that your twin flame literally like helps you grow if you choose it, of course.
Yeah, I love that. And one thing that I've really learned recently that Jeff and Shaleia also talk about in their book is how to like appreciate it when your twin flame triggers you, which is, sometimes can be a bit of a hard thing because, they do that thing, say whatever, and you're just like, I'm so upset right now. And then sometimes you hurt, or, they just childhood stuff comes up. But like, yeah, I found it like recently I've come to a place where it's like I have that moment of being really upset and being like, what the f is going on? And then very quickly being able to shift into a state of, oh, wow, okay, this is good that this is coming up. I actually want to hear this. This is serving me to feel this and have these like upsets coming up. And like, wow, I appreciate you so much for showing me this, because this helps me to ascend and brings me closer to God and to have more peace in my life. And yeah, I guess like when you approach your twin flame relationships and every relationship as okay, either obviously when someone abuses you and whatnot, you put up boundaries and you don't have that relationship, but in healthy relationships, conflicts come up, like upsets come up. And yeah, when you learn to like appreciate upsets and conflicts happening and seeing them as learning opportunities and a way of like being loved and a way of like opportunities to grow and love yourself more and have more peace in your life, that is very, makes everything easier. And it's also obviously very nice for like the other person that you're having the relationship with, because you're not blaming them for upsetting you or like hitting back on them, as like Chris and Jason mentioned at the beginning, like being like, okay, I'm triggered, I'm going to take some space, deal with my own shit, and then come back and continue to have a healthy, peaceful relationship with you.
Yeah, I love that, what you shared about like conflict being used as a tool to take the relationship deeper, because that's something I'm learning. And it's really beautiful with twin flames, because instead of, oh, we had a fight, now we need to break up, it's like, oh, we had a fight, so okay, it's heal our own stuff, and let's see how we can get clear here. What is the conflict about? And yeah, how can we reach an agreement here? Getting clear on what the right option is. So yeah, it's a huge difference between this dynamic and like the typical soulmate dynamic that I had experienced before, in which you couldn't really reach an agreement. Some conflicts, because I didn't share one consciousness with this person. So yeah, we made different core choices. But it's not the same with twin flames. And that's really nice.
Yeah, like it's kind of insane how like much stuff Josh and I have been through together, and we still like keep going. Like that's not normal for soulmate relationships. And that's because like there's so much love there. There's like, you love each other so much, like you're never going to give up on each other. And it's very obvious, like even if we have like the biggest fight or whatever, like we still like the next day are like, I love you, okay, we can work through this. This is just a challenge to work through. It's nothing that can tear us apart. So yeah.
Yeah, like before joining the community, me and Nikki were like in union, and we were like, we used to live like we lived like for 1.5 years together before joining the community and understanding like the teaching of how twin flames work. And even before then, we had so much love for each other, even though we didn't know how to actually grow. And even though we had a lot of abusive patterns and a lot of stuff going in our relationship, God always was there. And this is why like twin flames uh, are eternal. And when you understand at the core like who is your twin flame and who is you, which is the most important part, like that's when you just just ground yourself in that one path that is the only path in the truth. Yeah.
So at the core, like, you know your love for your twin flame, but it's like this thing that you have to build this relationship with your twin flame for, and like really understand the dynamics of how the relation, how the union works, so it can flow on Earth.
Yeah.
I wanted to share a comment that Chrissy made on the live video, and it says, the Divine Feminine will, sorry about the background noise, the Divine Feminine will naturally push on the DM. I don't even know I'm doing it to Jason. As Jason has put up his boundaries, it gives him space and strengthens my relationship with God, myself, and him. It's safe for the DM to push on the DF as well. We are not fragile. Twin flames are awesome. It's such a blessing to be your true, authentic self. There's so much freedom. Our HTVU is rock solid. Everyone's is. It's safe to be yourself and not hold back with your twin flame. It's complete freedom. I love that.
I love that too. And like one thing that I do a lot when we like Nico and I, we have our upsets and like obviously we work through it. And then sometimes we have these like upsets that don't seem to go away. And we're just like not talking and avoiding each other. And like in the beginning, we would go like that for like maybe a couple of hours or so and just be like, I'm not looking at you, go away. And now I'm getting to that point very quickly where I'm like, oh my God, I don't like, I can't stand this. Like we're working through this right now. And I'm basically, yeah, starting to just like honey badger her and like stalk her around the house. And then she like talks to me and like we just, yeah, resolve it and talk about it and get clear, okay, what is going on? What's your upset? What's mine? What is the problem we're having? And yeah, it's basically what Chrissy just mentioned, just like, you know, I'm pushing on my woman and being like, hey, we're not going to sit in an upset. We're getting to the core of this and not feeling like shit. And yeah, it worked. It's very effective every single time. So I can highly recommend doing that.
Yeah, I love this. It's something my twin and I do as well. We don't like sitting around just being upset, whatever, I'm not talking to you. It's so much easier to just resolve it in this moment. And maybe, okay, somebody needs to take like 5 minutes to calm down. That's okay. But waiting too much to heal whatever comes up, it's actually a huge energy leak and it just leaves you exhausted.
One other thing that just came up for me, like in this like context that we're just in, is like how Chrissy and Jason mentioned, like how important it is to have patience and compassion and forgiveness, especially like when you go through intense, deep things that are coming up. And yeah, sometimes it is like most compassionate to take a bit of space and work on it by yourself first, because before you can come together and like talk about it peacefully. And it's just like, yeah, about seeing, okay, what is the best right now to how I can deal with this and how to work through it most effectively and in the fastest way in our union. And yeah, like especially that like forgiveness part, like I've also noticed how like in the when I came into union with Nicole in the beginning, I would hold on to upsets longer than I had to. Like they would come up, I would resolve them, but I was still like holding on to them because I was like, you brought up this upset, I was upset at you. Then at the moment I noticed I was doing that, I was like, oh wow, this is really uncomfortable. And like when you just resolve it and you let it go, and then like I don't even think about like, okay, what did we heal yesterday? It's kind of just like going day by day, and what happened yesterday is already in the past. And when you do that, like what I also like find really important, I guess, in this like regard is to like with your twin flame, you're healing so fast that sometimes like patterns that happened yesterday already aren't there anymore the next day. And if you hold on to that upset and you think it's still like there, you're not like giving your twin flame sometimes the chance to to like be the new healed self in this like area. Is that making sense? It's a bit hard to explain, but basically just take it day by day. And like, yeah, like people heal, especially with your twin flame, as you heal very fast. And your relationship is basically at a new level every single day. And you have to be present every day with where your relationship is at, and not with where it was yesterday and what you were working on yesterday.
Amen. It's all about the present moment, letting go of resentment. Resentment just keeps you there in the upset, in the loop of hell. Feels like hell. So choose heaven instead.
There was this quote, I don't remember who said it, about holding grudges being like holding onto a hot coal. So essentially you're just burning your hand.
Yeah, like earlier this week, Josh and I had like an upset, like I think, well, it was Friday. Yeah. We were trying to go on a bike ride together, and there's just like all this like miscommunication and all this stuff. And you know, we could have like held on to the upset, but like, you know, that was just gonna only hurt us. Like, I want to go on a bike ride, and I want to go, like, I want to hang out with him. So you don't need to like, and you know, it's not like if you're holding on to that upset, you're just preventing like the good feeling and like the good times that you can have with your twin flame or any other relationship.
Yeah, I feel like also what Dennis just said before, like forgiveness, compassion, and acceptance, like I feel are key components to commitment, to actually committing to ourselves and our twin flame, of course. And yeah, when we like gather all of those components, like you start to see like how in what vibrationally, in what like how do you feel about yourself, and how and which are the places that you need to heal.
Those are the keys, like the 7 keys to harmonious union, which are like very they're crucial, like to have a healthy and balanced and like thriving harmonious union and relationship with your twin flame. Yeah, those are key.
I've noticed sometimes, because I practice this forgiveness with my twin flame and everything, and also working through those upsets quickly as they arise. And I noticed sometimes I will remember that we had an upset at some point, but I won't even remember what it was about. It's like, okay, I have no idea what that was about, but I'm glad it's over.
I see myself like when I get upset at Andy, or like some miscommunication happens, and I'm like, why did he like why I want to hold on, but it's only hurting me, and we're one, so why am I doing this? Like,
Yeah.
let's just heal it and get over
And
it.
that's when the logic comes to fruition. When you make the core logic, like why
What will this bring us to?
yeah, well, what will this holding on to this thing will bring me?
Give me, yeah, like nothing actually.
Another lesson I've been learning about like my relationship with Josh is, you know, not being like so extremely hard on him, you know, and because like I'm learning, you know, it was because of being really hard on myself. It's a balance between like, you know, making sure like you have like you're standing in your power, but like not like unbalancing yourself and turning that into like a controlling kind of thing. That doesn't help either of you grow, and it's important to nurture yourself, like like if you're disciplining your twin flame, make sure you don't just discipline. You gotta like discipline them and like help them open up and heal what is being brought up. So like you can move forward and not like be all like resentful because and angry at each other and controlling. Yeah, it's really good to be nurturing, very like loving and compassionate.
One thing that Andy and Nikki mentioned 15 minutes ago, so it just came up for me that I kind of want to go back to is you guys said like how you realized like at one point that like you kind of taking it from point zero, and like that's been like such a like like just like helpful insight for me too. Like at one point like in my union I was like, wow, I am completely incapable of having a relationship and a partnership. I have zero ideas how to do that. And like the moment you just like take that pressure off and like that like you just kind of realize like, oh, okay, I thought I knew how to have a relationship and even like especially like a romantic relationship and partnership, and you just like let go of like any expectations you have on yourself or like any belief that, oh, I know this and that, and just allow God to teach you what you know and what you don't know, and you kind of realize that you know way less than you thought you know. But that's like kind of the point where like you're like open to actually like really learn, and it just gets it's very relieving to just like allow yourself to be like a baby that learns how to walk for the first time, and accept that that's where you might be in some areas, and not treat yourself like you're 25 years old and you've already walked for 25 years when in fact you've never like taken a step in your life. And that's like not a bad thing. It's just like the most compassionate thing is to just accept yourself. This is where I'm at and I'm learning. And when you accept where you're at, that's when you actually can grow from there.
Totally. Like I know literally everyone who's like in harmonious union or in union has that like comparison block. They're like, oh my God, like I'm not as healed as them, or like I'm not as healed as Jeff and Shaleia. Like that is so, don't do that. That just is it's not your journey. You got to accept yourself and accept where you are. And that's the only way you can heal. And like you're seeing like this really beautiful thing in another harmonious union, and that's because that's within you too, and it's important to recognize that and not like shame yourself for like having upsets. Don't shame yourself for having upsets.
Yeah, I feel like, oh, go on.
Okay. I wanted to add something from what Dennis said, that like it's okay like to start from zero, let's say, in relationships, and like really heal everything like that comes up, because this also helps attract and claim divine relationships, which are like very healthy. And like really how also like Chrissy and Jason was saying in the sermon, that like you see other relationships and you're like, okay, like I don't get something, like there's trauma or there's stuff that do not have like value.
Yeah, I love that about like not being harsh on ourselves. And I feel this is the old way of looking at things, like, oh, had an upset, it's the end of the world. When in truth, having an upset is just deeper awareness that, hey, there's a part of me that needs love here. Let's love this part, and that's it. That's pretty much the mirror exercise. There's an upset within me. I give that part of myself love, and then it's completed. I don't need to look at that or be hurt there. So again, it's important to accept ourselves, because it is very different to relate to your twin flame than in other relationships, how we're taught to have relationships. And I'm sure many of us have also heard like some pretty terrible advice, like playing games and make the other person jealous, and like this really doesn't work with twin flames. It's so much different. So it might take a while for some of us to deprogram the old way of doing relationships, but it's okay if it takes some time, and it's totally worth it, because this is a healthy relationship and it's based on love instead of ego or anything else.
Yeah, I feel like humility is also a very key part to grow and to mature, uh, because that's what ultimately like your twin flame teaches you, and that's the what actually the spiritual path teaches you at the core, to be humble, at service, and like loving with God in our relationship with God, because ultimately like that's the core of our all of our relationships.
Yeah. And that's actually what we want. Like, we want perfect union with our creator. So it's like safe to accept and see like what our twin flame mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
And also, no matter what is being mirrored, it's important to take a look at that, because there's really nothing that can hurt us about taking a look within ourselves. And sometimes the ego will want us to believe that, oh, it's dangerous to go there, to that part of your consciousness. It's so dark and scary. But yeah, it's just a part of us that needs love, and it's okay to bring light there. It's perfectly safe. And as divine beings, we cannot really be hurt. So yeah, it's important not to treat ourselves and our healing like we're fragile or maybe we'll break, or because that cannot happen.
I guess I go. What you said, Christine, also kind of goes back to like what Marley mentioned earlier, where like, you know, how like your union is like basically like a safe container where like you go through so much and you still like nothing can like break it apart. And I feel like, you know, that's also when, yeah, just like this, like also tied in like with conflict, like it's safe to have upsets, it's safe to have conflicts and everything. And yeah, it's safe to like, you know, just be you and do what you feel guided to, even though like, there's been so many times where I was like, oh my God, what am I doing right now? I would never behave like this in any other relationship. And like, okay, God is guiding me to do this. I'm just gonna do this, whatever. Let's just hope like shit doesn't explode. And it always ends up, you know, like the result is always positive, but like you just like, yeah, it's kind of like, what's the word? It can be crazy sometimes, but in a positive way, as in, I don't know how to explain it. I think I'm just gonna stop here. Maybe someone else can like add to that.
You're releasing the crazy, really. You're like, this is the upheaval of everything you've learned that was not helpful to you. So it's okay to release judgment.
I really love the story, and I think it's in Dreams Coming True or Romance Attraction. It's one of the two, where Zeph was saying about Shaleia that at some point she drank some of his juice, I think, that he had like left on the table, and he was so upset at that. And Shaleia didn't do it to upset him. She just was following her divine guidance. And yeah, it's natural that sometimes we'll trigger our twin flame without meaning to, because we're just being ourselves. And even doing that is safe, because that's a way to help them be aware of something that is within them, and it helps them to heal that instead of just holding on to this energy and not being aware of it. So yeah, I love this, that it's okay to be ourselves, and we don't need to worry about like, maybe my twin flame will be triggered and what's going to happen, because we have the tools to heal that no matter what comes up.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to like like what you were saying before about like how we're releasing how we used to play games in order to like keep people around, like denying our authentic selves, or just using control or manipulation to keep someone around, which is denying your authentic self. And yeah, it's so freeing and so relieving that you can just be yourself, and that, and letting go of that like worry that you're going to trigger them, because you're like, we all have upsets and they may seem like they're just coming from really random places, but it's important to see that as a good thing, and that this is like helping you become more of your authentic self and helping your twin flame become more their authentic self. And that's because you love them so much. You want them to be authentic. You want them to express themselves. And yeah, and if it means that they need to express themselves in a way that's like, I don't know, like they're just yelling or something, like that, you gotta let them do that. That's something else I learned, is like, I used to be like terrified of like conflict, or like like yelling, everything. Still working on that. But yeah, like it's important for like Josh to express himself, and it's important for me to express myself, and yell and if I need to, and that's okay. And definitely have always taught like it's okay to express yourself completely like this. Obviously not in a place to like abuse, like that's not okay. But something that Colby shared in like group coaching a while back is that like God made us have a strong voice for a reason. Like there's a reason why we're able to yell. So why do we have to like suppress ourselves? Like I grew up suppressing a lot of my expression, and it was really freeing to be able to like go there and yell if I needed to, and yeah, and obviously like you don't want to be yelling all the time. It's something like that happens if you need it to, for healing. But yeah, it's okay to just be completely you, everything, and your twin flame loves it. They love the authentic you. And yeah, I love the authentic self of my twin flame. So yeah.
Me too.
Something that's been happening in my union, and I also love that is related to this, is about how there doesn't seem to be a single topic that is out of the question. We don't talk about that. We just lock this in the closet. Yeah, I love that this doesn't happen, and I can really be my whole self. And if I want to talk, for example, about spirituality, I can do that, and I will not be judged. Whereas in previous relationships or some friendships, it was like, oh yeah, these people are triggered by this, I better not mention it. And it was so freeing to finally be able to like share all those things with my twin and express my opinions authentically, how I feel. It felt so good instead of censoring myself all the time.
Totally. And now I've been able to see like where I've been like healing like past relationships like with friends in high school, and I've been able to see a lot clearer like, oh wow, yeah, like I had to censor so much of myself to be around them. And that's not friendship at all. That's like codependent yuck. So it's so nice that we're here and like healing this.
Yeah, I feel this relates to something that was mentioned in the sermon about how like relationships are the most important thing and you can't really bypass it, and like definitely really model how to have a healthy relationship. And yeah, that's really important because we are never really taught how to have a healthy friendship. And a lot of us have experienced this. Codependent yakas, Marley has said. Right. So I'm very grateful for this community and this teaching because it's showing me how to have an actually healthy relationship instead of just putting up with stuff because, oh, that's the way, you know, when it feels really bad.
Yeah, and you know, that's like the thing with like when it comes to a twin flame relationship. I remember this one video on Jeff and Shaleia's YouTube channel where I think it's called like, is the twin flame relationship toxic or something like that. And in that video, Jeff talks about how like all the principles that like apply in every relationship also apply in like the twin flame relationship. Like it's not like because this is your twin flame, they can like walk all over you or disrespect your boundaries or something like that. And even like with your twin flame, there might be situations where like, you know, you're gonna have to put up a boundary, like, you know, both parties in the union. And that's like, you know, like a good and healthy thing to do when you notice, oh, the other person's running like a pattern and it's, you know, maybe they're like letting out the upsets on me or whatever. Even if it's like a subtle thing, like it's safe to put up a boundary and say, hey, you're doing that and I don't deserve to be treated like that, and please go heal it. So yeah, like this, you don't ever have to accept being treated in a way that doesn't feel good. Obviously, like if it upsets you and triggers you, it's something to heal within too. That's also safe to put up a boundary and speak up and stand in your truth when it comes to how you want to be treated. Yeah, in your twin flame union and in every other relationship.
I feel putting up the boundary is part of the healing as well, because a lot of us feel powerless or like, oh, but I've known this person for so many years and I haven't put up a boundary before. Maybe they won't like that. Maybe I should just keep feeling uncomfortable. But yeah, it's very healing to be able to say no to things that don't feel good and, well, also healing them.
Another thing that's important about boundaries is like, you know, believing that they work and like believing that you're powerful and that like your power is enough to like set this boundary. That's something I noticed I was working on with my clients this week. And yeah, it's just believe that, you know, you have the power, you do, and God will help you set that boundary.
Yeah, and you know that also like at the core goes back to like the power of your choice, and then like the power of your choice really, you know, acts in relationships too. And one thing that like Nicole and I have been going through, I went through MAP a week ago and made a lot of new choices when it comes to relationships. And like for the last week, literally all these relationships that actually are not divine relationships that are like coming out of the bushwork and like revealing themselves. And it's been kind of a bit of like, whoa, okay, like this person and that person now, that person, and like my parents acting crazy and everything. And it's like really shows how like I've made all these choices of like actually supportive relationships, loving relationships, and whatnot, like 20 new like relationship choices. And it really felt like this, like I get to choose what kind of relationships I want, and I choose to release any unloving, unsupporting relationships from my life. And if you have any of these not divine relationships, they will come up and reveal themselves. And then it's like, yeah, you know, I think there's more to like reveal and explore. It's really time to follow through with like your choice. And like if you say I choose to let go of abusive relationships, and then like this friend of you reveals himself to be an abusive relationship, you have to act through with your choice and actually release that person, because otherwise you say you want to let go of abusive relationships, but you still keep these people around. So that's like kind of like, you know, sending a mixed message to the universe, your reality. So in this, it's like it is the healing and the choice, and it's also the like taking the physical action and following through in the physical reality with what you've chosen.
one of the teachings that I have received from my twin flame is that uh, how I partner interact and how my relationships look like and are supposed to look like in my mind. And after I cleared that lie, like literally all of the people I knew in the past like just faded away from my life. And I made the choice to actually um, grow in relationships where is only love. And the the relationships that serve me actually uh, started to show me that they were there all along, even though in some moments I didn't know. And as you said, Dennis, like all of this like divine relationships and people like started coming out. And like yeah, so I'm very grateful of what my twin flame relationship like keeps teaching me, like in how to interact with the entire world. Yeah.
It reminds me of like how you come into harmonious union, like the old relationships, like romantic relationships fade away, and then there was your person all along. And yeah, we're learning how to come into harmonious union with like relationships, basically.
That's a huge thing I noticed just before I came into union. There were all these relationships I had and they were like falling away just so naturally as a result of my choice to attract my twin flame. And that was a good thing, even though back then it was very scary, because sometimes it's like, oh, well, these people I had known, they're just leaving and what's happening. But at the core, it's about having a relationship with God, and it's the one relationship that we're having with our creator. So when you really view God as your source of friendship, of romance, of everything, then you have the security that you don't have to like see other people as your source. And yeah, it's much more secure and it feels relieving to put God first instead of putting other people as your source.
Reach.
I definitely I let go of a lot of relationships before I or around the time Keely found Twin Flames Universe, and she was like helping me, like coaching me like through some toxic relationships I was having. And maybe it looked like I was turning into like a loner, but it was actually clearing the way to like my harmonious union, and really like relationships that really give to me, instead of like leaking all my energy like to these people that were really only in it to like get high off of me, and I was in it to get high off of them, and it just wasn't healthy. So yeah, I don't know where they went. Hopefully they come back. But
They might come back.
okay. But yeah, like it helped me like close up all these energy leaks so I can have relationships that really, really give to me, that really love me.
Yeah, that's super important. And I think the card reading for today's sermon was all about like the relationships you have. There they are. Yeah, they really affect your abundance and like how much energy you can put into your life purpose and into your union. If you're surrounded by people that constantly like suck your energy and you're leaking your energy to them, then you don't have as much to give to yourself, to your union. So yeah, it doesn't feel very good and it's very exhausting to have that going on for extended periods of time.
Yeah, like I remember I would spend like hours like Snapchatting my friends in high school like all the time, and you know, it was a way of like numbing out. And then once I deleted Snapchat, I was like, this is just like not, I can't do this anymore. I started like diving into what I was passionate about, you know, what I watched like lots of tutorials on YouTube, lots of video essays on films, and I got into film, and I was like, oh my God, this is where my heart's calling. Like, I really want to express myself this way. And I got to know myself like way better because I was able to like cut out of that like energy leak, you know, just by like, you know, just turn off Snapchat and making that choice to, you know, not like let go of those relationships.
I had a similar relationship with like my previous friend group who had known each other since high school, but after a while it was so uncomfortable to be around each other because we didn't share any interests at all. And my heart was calling me to be in gaming and do gaming related things, and they wouldn't do that. They hated it. So it was like, okay. And they were getting triggered because I was spending so much time there, and yeah, it was a weird situation.
Maybe if no one else has something to say, we can call it a day.
Yeah, I was wondering about this. Are we feeling complete here or okay? Marley,
Yes.
okay, good. Great, so thank you everyone for joining us for After Third Tea Time. And yeah, thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.